If you weren't able to attend the Welch Fest, it's a little bit chilly, but it was a very good festival. We had issues, we're gonna straighten them out next year. It'll be bigger and better next year, is our outlook. Tonight's, I would like to, has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from the previous meeting? And if there's anything that needs to be changed, you're welcome to speak up now, or we'll accept them as sent out.
I make a motion to accept these. I second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, and Daisy.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness, I guess I needed my glasses. Daisy, would you give us a treasurer's report?
I will. Something doesn't balance, and it's driving me crazy, but I can give you a treasurer's report. The operating account balance is $10,743.17, and of that, $6,000 is to be changed, so that gives us available $47,43.17. And this month, the disbursements were $977.18, and the deposits were $1425.16. So that's how that got there. Then the director's account has a balance of $10,376.20, and that's where the 6 is going. And then the memorial fund is $5,725.87. And the disbursements total, what gave you that total, was AT&T charges monthly are $256. Curated charges, not charges, but payment is $600. And supplies are $17.92. That was just for odds and ends and tissue and things like that. The alarm system is $99, but that's a quarterly charge, so that's basically $33 a month to monitor the thing. There was a PayPal $396 charge, so that's how we got the $977.18. And deposits were membership $13.80 in addition to what we had last month. Welsh Vest $42. The paper refund for that charge for the bank statement that we don't need is $2.50, and interest is 66 cents. So those were the deposits this month. Anybody questions?
Sep.
I make a motion to accept the second report.
Second? Clear? Second. All in favor? Okay. Now, before we introduce our speaker, I would like to ask Euharlee to come up and tell the progress of the director. And she has been busy as can be. So.
Hello, you should all have found our quarterly newsletter that I printed out that has all of our events for April, May, and June. We've got a cemetery tour, we've got an author event, we're going to do a historic home tour, and it's got the self-guided Pokemon Go tour. We're going to be getting a desktop computer for the museum's use and purchasing Past Perfect museum software that will enable us to organize our acquisition files. It'll be cataloging membership, and it will generate newsletters for us so we can do everything with one program. Downstairs on the back wall we have received from the Starnes estate a collection of Westside Elementary class photos and snapshots from the 70s to the 90s. There's a few from Cedar Lake and Benedict School also, and you can go back and look through those if you'd like. Those will end up over at the Hawks building when it's finished. The museum is now set up to accept credit cards with the Square and PayPal payments, and we're selling items on eBay for charity. That's a nonprofit program, and we're accepting donated items. If you would like to bring anything in, we would really like to have things that are easy to ship, like books and magazines and DVDs. Clothing is really too time-consuming to list, and they're expensive to ship. And we'd rather not have breakables, but we will consider selling those if they are of value.
Thanks. Now, the board has agreed to purchase the program that all museums use, and I think that's going to be a big asset. So she's on board to help us get everything we got entered in, and then it's got other benefits and all, but we are going to purchase that. On the progress on the Hawks building, we got the wall and the rotted out window casing replaced. We got the flooring delivered this morning. The workers are coming tomorrow morning about 8:30 and put it down. So whenever we get it down, we can start working on getting the library. It's going to be the Polk County Historical Society Genealogical Research Library. And it will be in the basement where our meeting room is at. And Jane Thompson has graciously categorized all of our books. She's going to set it up for us. So we're looking forward to adding that to our website and everything. And at this time, I'd like to ask Carol to come up and introduce our guest speaker.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce y'all to Katie Goby, and she is the director of the museum at Euharlee. Maybe most of you have seen that beautiful, delightful, stunning, historic covered bridge, and like me, probably don't know a thing about it. So we're going to learn all about it tonight, and I'm so thankful you're coming to share your information with us. We welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and share a little bit about our covered bridge. I have up there, hopefully all of you can see the PowerPoint. I'll have some images that I'd like to share with you. And I say a brief history because there is so much to share. Everybody that comes to Euharlee, that has lived in Euharlee, that has visited Euharlee, has a story to share about our bridge. So I know I've got about 30 minutes, so we're going to speed through. But I welcome you to come to Euharlee and to come to the Welcome Center and History Museum and learn more. I have, so I don't forget, I have some brochures and my card, and come on out, come see us. First, I'm going to ask who has been to our covered bridge? So many, wonderful, great. The first time I ever spoke outside of Euharlee about Euharlee, I did not ask the question, do you know where Euharlee is? And I got a lot of very puzzled looks because some people have never even heard that word before. So if you haven't been to the bridge, have you heard of Euharlee before?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So Euharlee is a small town 8 miles west of Cartersville, and it is a special little jewel. It's been a secret, I think, for a while, and we're trying to share that secret. So I'm glad to be here today to share more about it. We'll start off with a little covered bridge trivia. Does anybody know how many covered bridges are left in the state of Georgia? There's more than 3. There's definitely more than 3. There are 16 left publicly that you can visit. There are several that you can actually still drive across. Our bridge is not one of them, and I'm very thankful for that, because if you watch the news, you see the Concord Bridge in Smyrna gets hit weekly at this point, despite the fact that they put that huge beam to discourage people from driving vehicles much too large across it. All right, and the number one question I get at the museum, why are covered bridges covered? Does anybody know the answer to that?
Keep the rain off of it.
To keep the, yes, absolutely, to keep the rain off of it. Wood goes bad. It does, and so to keep those expensive timbers safe from the elements, we cover it. We get all kind of questions, you know, is it to keep the cows and horses and things from getting scared while they're crossing it? Perhaps that was a benefit, not the reason they're covered. So, all right. Our waterways in Euharlee are very important. It was settled because of our waterways. We, of course, have the junction of the Etowah River and the Euharlee Creek right there. And so we have Native Americans that were settled in Euharlee long before it became part of the state of Georgia. And navigating those waters, either through or over, has long been another important part of the people who lived there. So these bridges, they're beautiful. We think of them as these kind of picturesque rarities. However, really the style was a utilitarian style. It was very sturdy and it was reliable. And so that's why we ended up choosing these types of bridges throughout the state of Georgia, where there were over 200 at one point, and throughout the United States. As the country expanded, these bridges were built to, they were easy. They were easier, they were cheaper, and so that's why we're littered with covered bridges, especially throughout the Midwest and things like that. But I'm going to back up a little bit before I get to our covered bridge. I'm going to tell you a little bit about bridges in Euharlee. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the King family who ended up building our bridge, and then I'll get to the bridge our bridge itself. There was actually another covered bridge in Euharlee that predated this one. It was the Milam Bridge that crossed the Etowah River, named after the Milam family that settled Euharlee back in the 1850s. It was burned in May of 1864 by the Confederate Army, not the Union Army. The Confederate Army burned it down in hopes to keep Sherman at bay for a little bit longer. Of course, we all know how that worked out. He just put some pontoons in the Etowah and crossed it anyway. Where this bridge is on the Euharlee Creek, there were weaker bridges in its place before. There are also rope and pole ferries crossing the Euharlee Creek. These weaker bridges, these ferries, were not sustainable. They were not sturdy. There were stronger currents at that time than we have today. You know, of course, a lot of our water is controlled by the dams and the different things we have in Bartow County specifically. And these bridges were washed out, and we have several accounts of people dying while trying to cross a ferry throughout Bartow County specifically, but even on Euharlee Creek. The most well-known story, can everybody hear me? Am I close enough to the microphone? I feel like, I don't know. Okay, just making sure. The most well-known story about a Euharlee resident perishing crossing one of our bridges is Elihu Nelson. This is Confederate Captain Elihu G. Nelson. He was one of the forefathers of the Euharlee we have today. He was born in South Carolina in 1824, and he moved to Euharlee in the 1850s. In fact, the Nelsons still are all over Bartow County today, and his great-great-grandson actually passed away last week, who is Superior Court Judge Carrie Nelson in Bartow County. So we still have the Nelson family impact from Elihu moving to Euharlee. He survived the Civil War. He returned home, ran his farm, and ran the general store. He was one of the first commissioners when Euharlee was officially chartered as Euharlee in 1870. And only 6 months later, while crossing the bridge with 2 of his young sons near the spot where our covered bridge is today, Elihu and another man, Jim Watts, actually drowned. The story was covered because he was such a well-known figure in Bartow County. Throughout the state, their papers covered his demise and his burial. I'm going to read you an account from the Cartersville Express dated March 7, 1871. We are pained to learn that E.G. Nelson of Euharlee with his 2 little boys met with a very fatal accident on Sunday last while crossing the bridge over Euharlee Creek at Tumlin's Mills. The particulars as we learned are them as follows. Mr. Nelson and his little boys were crossing the bridge in a 2-horse spring buggy drawn by a horse and a mule, and when near the end of the bridge it gave way, and the vehicle, animals, Mr. Nelson and sons were tumbled into the stream beneath, killing one of the animals, smashing up the buggy, and so seriously injuring Mr. Nelson that he died. But strange to say, the little boys escaped uninjured. A Negro man, whose name was Jim Watts, after Mr. Nelson and sons had been taken from the buggy in an effort to get it out of the creek, was drowned. It appears that they had tied a rope to the buggy by which to pull, and Jim was pushing and getting into swift and deep water, lost control of himself, caught hold of the wheel, which turned with him,